For RCR Wireless, I'm Sean Kinney, and this is Mobile Midday News. I'd like to thank our sponsor, telecomcareers.com. It's the industry's largest resume database and jobs board. And I'd also like to welcome our editor-in-chief, Dan Meyer, who's joining us from his office in Denver, Colorado. First up today, we're continuing to follow this North Korea hacking story for you. A bit of background: North Korean operatives are apparently responsible for a major cyber attack against Sony Pictures. That's been going on for a few weeks now. It got so bad that Sony actually killed its planned release of the Seth Rogen, James Franco comedy The Interview. The film apparently depicts North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in a less than favorable light. So with that in mind, yesterday someone pulled off a major DDoS attack that essentially shut down the internet in North Korea. Reuters is reporting that connectivity was restored today. U.S. officials say that the American government was not involved. Dyn, a firm that monitors internet infrastructure, says the reason for the outage is still unknown. Now I'd like to bring in Dan. He's working on a 4-part story that wraps up the 100 top telecom and ICT stories from 2015. Dan, I think part 2 is going live on the RCR Wireless website today. Can you give us a bit of a preview, please?
Sure, yeah, thanks, Sean. Yeah, so another big year in wireless. So we're kind of recapping some of the biggest stories of the year. Like you said, Sean, today part 2 is up, looking at some of the top stories between April and June of the year. Some of the big stories, obviously, that came out. A lot of focus this year came out on the software side of things. NFV and SDN were really big topics, and so some stories that came out this year on those topics, kind of looking at the future growth of those technologies. Also, during that time frame, there was a lot of stories coming out about climber safety. There were some deaths this year for tower climbers, which are pretty sad, as always. But so a lot of focus now coming onto the industry and handle future safety regulations and trying to keep those climbers safe out there. Another big story that kind of came out that time frame was the FCC came out with rules for their planned 600 megahertz incentive auction, which is a very highly anticipated auction, which recently was pushed back until 2016. But the FCC came out with some rules earlier this year to kind of laid out some of their plans for that, and it garnered quite a bit of comments from the industry, but it definitely has set kind of in motion the plans for the incentive auctions, which eventually will come into play. So those are a few of the other bigger stories that came out this year. Next week we'll come out with part 3 and part 4 of our top 100 stories of the year as well.
All right, and you can look for Dan's stories up on the RCR Wireless website. And Dan, you've got another story up today that looks into customer relationship management as it applies to mobile operators. Can you please sort of break that one down for us?
Sure, yeah. Well, we just recently we put out a report on the topic of CRM and also had a webinar on the topic too. And in putting together that report, we talked with a lot of sources in the industry kind of on the topic of CRM. The story they put up today was one of our conversations we had with a company, kind of looking at the impact that real-time analytics has had on CRM, the importance of being able to really tap into the analytics going across the network in real time to really help CRM platforms and operators stay in touch with customers in a real-time environment. It's really important because any sort of delay nowadays seems like it's being magnified. So for operators to be able to really tap into what's going on their networks, to kind of let their customers know what's happening on the networks, it's a pretty big part of CRM and making sure customers stay happy and that operators are able to be a little more proactive in dealing with any sort of issues that customers come up with across the networks. Obviously, the CRM space has become very competitive. The carrier space is very competitive now, so operators are doing everything that they can to ensure that their customers stay happy and stay with the carriers.
All right, very good. We appreciate that update, Dan. And now we've got a story that's from my infrastructure beat. And we all want better internet connectivity. It's something that we talk about in our office almost every day. In that regard, 100G is the big thing right now. Network operator Windstream, which is based out in Little Rock, Arkansas, that's my wife's hometown, has partnered with SDN NFV firm Cyan to upgrade existing metro networks to accommodate that 100G data speed. Windstream reps say the move will enhance business and residential services while also positioning Windstream to be more competitive in the data center cloud computing space. Windstream is using Cyan's Z-Series packet optical platform, which features router bypass, data center interconnect, backhaul, and content delivery. That's supported by the 100G Ethernet packet, coherent transport, and 96-channel ROADMs. Sierra Wireless has announced its $90 million acquisition of wireless Maingate. That deal is expected to close in February. Sierra Wireless is known for machine-to-machine and cloud services. The company offers 2G, 3G, and 4G embedded modules and gateways that integrate with secure M2M services. Maingate provides M2M connectivity and data management services throughout Europe. The company fills the void in the Sierra Wireless model by managing those connections. More news out of Europe today. Germany's largest phone company, Deutsche Telekom, is looking to sell its internet portal T-Online. We talked a little bit about this earlier today on Global Joe. Now reports indicate that Deutsche is planning to sell to the Axel Springer Media Group. If the deal goes through, it would combine a web portal that accounts for some 374 million annual visitors. Axel Springer already operates the third most popular German internet portal, while eBay holds the number 2 position. And that deal, it's expected to close, but it's subject to fairly extensive regulatory approval from German authorities. And telecom and ICT is truly a global industry, so we try hard here at RCR Wireless to bring you a global perspective. With that, RCR Wireless editor Roberta Prescott, who's joining us from her office in Sao Paulo, Brazil. She's going to detail some of the telco implications of a free and open Cuba.
Hello, you all. So I gave some highlights of my piece about Latin America market. Ecuador new telecommunications law, latest Venezuela numbers, and the end of U.S. embargo on Cuba are some highlights. The National Assembly of Ecuador passed a new telecommunication act that simplifies the regulatory scenario and established new quality of service criteria. They said companies with a dominant market share should pay the government a tax starting on 0.5% of their revenue. This fee should be paid quarterly. It is expected that Claro and DirecTV must pay the fee. State-owned companies do not have to pay this tax. In Venezuela, the total investments of carriers reached $823 million at the end of September 2014. It is an increase of 105% compared to the same quarter of 2013. As of users, the country counted 3.4 million broadband access and 30.1 million of mobile subscribers. In Cuba, the industry is holding to check out what will coming next to the end of U.S. embargo. The expectation is an increase of mobile and internet access and service. In Brazil, yesterday, the telecom regulator Anatel gave green light to Telefónica offers to acquire Gigabit. The watchdog also said that Telefónica must leave Telecom Italia. Anatel does not want Telefónica to interfere on its rival in Brazil. Thank you a lot.
All right, that was Roberta Prescott. Thank you very much for that report, Roberta. And that'll do it for your Mobile Midday News. We're going to take a few days off for the holiday season, so Global Joe and Mobile Midday will be coming back in the new year. In the meantime, we're going to continue to update rcrwireless.com with the latest news from the telco ICT space. For multimedia content, I encourage you to visit our YouTube channel. And a big thank you to our editor-in-chief, Dan Meyer. And of course, a big thank you to our sponsor, telecomcareers.com.